We've got Trey Ogden back on the program, and you can see him fight next on July the 20th at UFC Vegas 94 when he takes on Loik Radzhabov. Trey, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you again. Obviously, last time we saw you in the octagon was in March. It seems like that's kind of like the perfect amount of time in between fights. Would you agree, or would you like to have been in there maybe a little sooner?
No, I think perfect. Honestly, I was thinking it would be a little bit longer than that, but I was out of the cage, I think 11 days when they offered me to fight Loik, and they originally offered it for June 15th. But I had Garrett Arnfield already booked on the June 15th card, so I told them I would do any other weekend besides that. And so then they just moved it to July 20th, and then Garrett Arnfield and Miles Johns both ended up fighting on the June 15th card. So I wanted to stay available to coach my guys.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, you got a lot to balance with your career and the coaching. Let's talk a little bit about both of those wins. Obviously, Miles Johns, the UD win over Douglas Silva de Andrade.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked fantastic in there, man. Any
Mhm.
critiques from your end as a coach?
Not really. I mean, I think that like with Miles, we're honing in on what the elite like championship version of Miles is. And we're getting closer to it every fight, and we got one step closer to it. We have some things that we're going to take away and refine and work on, but I mean, it's a hard performance to be upset with anything about. I think he fought a very tough guy and basically shut him out of the fight. So I thought it went really well.
I haven't checked the top 15 recently, but he's got to be close to it. Do you feel like maybe his next fight, if he's not fighting someone at the latter half of the top 15, that if he gets a win, then you guys are going to be talking about that come the following one?
Yeah, we're starting to talk about it. So I think we're either going to get a top 15 opponent next or an opponent who has previously been in the top 15. Or if not, we're one fight away from a top 15 fight. But I mean, Miles has won 4 fights in a row in that stacked division. So we got to be getting close. So we do know that we're inching towards that. And, we're preparing for that.
Yeah, that guy is scary. Garrett Armfield, what a fight against Brady Houston. I mean, Garrett had so many good moments, and ultimately, the fight didn't end up going his way. When you were talking to him post, obviously he's very upset. But I mean, what could he have done differently to end up avoiding that submission?
Well, I mean, I thought for the fight we got put in, Garrett fought close to perfect. We made one technical mistake on a particular style of get up a couple times, and Brady took the back on those mistakes a couple times. And if it wasn't for that one mistake, like if Brady never takes Garrett's back, and I think he did 3 times in the fight, if he never does once, Brady's never actually in that fight. So the fight I think looked more chaotic and looked more competitive than it actually was. We made a mistake, and hats off to them. They capitalized on it, and I mean that Brady's a tough dude, but we were a hairline away from getting that kid out of there. So it is what it is. Uh, Sometimes losses can be more impactful than wins. They might seem like momentary setbacks, but they may be the thing that springs you forward into a period of extreme growth. So that's where we're at with Garrett right now. We're just going to take that bad taste in our mouth, turn it into productive energy, and get way better. But I think that Garrett still showed through that fight how much promise he has in the UFC and in the division. And it's a minor setback, and we'll fix it soon.
Do you think that the average MMA fan out there knows just how good Garrett is, how good he can be?
I don't know what the I don't think I have my finger on the pulse of the average MMA fan's understanding of fighting.
Okay.
I would think that the average MMA fan is thinking what they're being told to think by the UFC marketing machine, would be my guess. Um, I am the underdog in every single fight I've been in in the UFC. I haven't seen the odds for this next one. I assume I'm a huge underdog. If you go
Small.
on Tapology, if you go on Tapology before all the fights, you can see like just like fan votes. Like it's not like live odds; it's like the fans vote. And man, like with a lot of these matchups, I have 8% of the votes, 17% of the votes. Like with Kurt Holloway, I think he was like a on Tapology, like had 84% of the votes. But the fans will almost always the your average fan is almost always gonna just side with whoever's more popular or famous or whatever name they know. You know what I mean? It's like fighting is very technical and there's a lot that goes into it. And so, like myself as a student of the game and a coach and an analyst of matchups, it's, it took me a whole lifetime to gain that expertise. So I also don't expect them to really be deciphering it in that way.
Yeah.
Now the hardcore fans are different. They or the fans that train. Like I think fans that train in martial arts certainly understand how good Garrett Armfield is because they have some hands-on experience. Like let's say if you're a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, like you understand you're watching some high-level stuff in there. So it's I don't know, man. It'd be interesting for me to even understand where they're at, where the average fan's at with their understanding of how hard this stuff actually is and how deep the waters of technicality gets, like if that makes sense.
Yeah, oh yeah. To be fair, that kind of was a loaded question. I guess just with the sport continuing to evolve, there's more and more, people that are getting into it that are following MMA and just the UFC in general. And I've been interviewing Garrett for a long time, so I've always known just how good he is. And now that he's starting to get a little bit more name credibility and he's getting more recognizable, I feel like people should know who he is more. Funny question. I'm not trying to be funny. Garrett made it public, so I just got to ask you the fart in the fight with Brady. Did you hear it? Did you hear it from the corner? Is this
No,
something
I
you
had
have to
no
tell?
idea. No, I had no idea. That is funny though.
He he's
Yeah,
become really funny
that
online too, like with his social media. Like he's
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 funny in person. He's a funny guy. He's light spirited. Like Garrett is light spirited and always trying to have a good time. And I really like that about him. So I'm very similar in that regard. Like I come across very serious, but once you get to know me, I'm a bit of a jokester myself. So I thought that was really funny of Garrett just to and Brady to even have that exchange after the fight and then to post it. It made me laugh pretty good.
yeah, that was hysterical. I got a chuckle out of it myself. I also saw that you posted something. You're doing some technical BJJ with your manager Jason House. Can you talk to me a little bit about what it's like, having him as a manager and being able to work with him at your craft?
Well, he's great as a manager. He's very good at what he does. You know what I mean? I'm impressed with him because his story is so interesting to me more than anything. Like, how does a guy who is not a fight manager, not in the world of it, start from no contacts, no experience, no anything, and pretty quickly build one of the biggest rosters in the UFC. And just like that just shows his intelligence, his competency, and his work ethic. You know what I mean? Because that was no easy task, I'm sure. So sometimes I like to pick his brain on that. Like, how exactly did you get yourself in this position? Because it's extremely impressive to me. Um,
Oh,
what I do, another thing I do really appreciate about Jason House is that he trains every day. Like he is involved in the lifestyle. He will get on the mat with you, you know. And he's been in my gym before. He rolled with the guys like everyone else. I know he's working boxing all the time, doing a lot of MMA sparring and MMA grappling and stuff. So he's a real black belt in martial arts himself. So I think that's awesome. And when we can get on a mat together, we do. And I enjoy sharing some knowledge with
yeah, that's very cool. And I feel like Iridium
him.
has to have the most fighters in the UFC. There can't be
Seems
another.
like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at everyone they represent, it's absolutely insane. One thing that I wanted to ask you that I don't believe I got the chance to last time we spoke is if you could give me a name or two of some young and up and comers at Marathon MMA that maybe at some point later this year, or the next year, we could see in the UFC.
Well, we have Zach Scroggin. I think he's 7-0 now, welterweight pro. He was 8-0 as an amateur. We're riding like 15 fight win streaks. Five of his seven pro wins have been finishes. He is on the list for contender series this year. I think that he would be the next one in from our team. We have Nick Meck, who's 7-1, I believe, either 7-1 or 8-1, another welterweight. Um, the one loss we had was a split decision that I just strongly disagree with. I think he should still be undefeated, but he's coming off a knockout win as well. So I would think that those two would be the next guys from our gym in, and then I have a whole slew of guys behind that. We have veteran Stephen Graham. He's probably like 12-4, 12-5, something like that. He's been a year laid off for an ACL surgery, but about to fight again July 27th on FAC. He's a guy that a couple of the correct wins could get him in position with UFC as well. So those are the three that are closest to the gates right now. But I got a whole bunch of other guys, and once I start naming names, I feel bad because I'm gonna forget someone, and then But there's a whole wave of them coming, and there will be multiple waves of them coming because I have some really exciting amateurs right now too that are just young in the game but are showing a lot of promise as well. Altogether, we have about 30 competitive fighters at Marathon right now. So
Yeah, it's clear that you're doing some big things at Marathon MMA. Can't wait to see the next generation of fighters make it into the big show eventually. I'm sure it will happen. Let's transition back to your career. I want to talk about the big win over Kurt Holobaugh, UD
yes, sir.
victory in March. I mean, it was picture perfect. I mean, I can't critique anything of it. I feel like you clearly won every round. Like, is there anything that you can look back and say, "Oh, I wish I would have done this different"?
Well, I really want to finish these guys. I've been in the third round in all five of my UFC fights, and I'm not necessarily accustomed to constantly getting myself in the third round. So I'm frustrated that I didn't finish Kurt, but Kurt is also a guy who had finished five opponents in a row leading up to the fight with me. So when you fight a guy that's finished five guys in a row and completely shut him out of the fight, that in and of itself is impressive, and I have to be satisfied with myself in that regard. But I would like to finish him. I don't necessarily know that there's a specific thing I should have done different to make that happen. Because like when I got on top of Kurt, I was trying to mount him the whole fight, and his jujitsu is very good, very high level, and I knew that going into it. And so we it just took a while. I mounted him in the last minute of the fight, but it just took that long to cook him because he's a very good black belt. Um, I almost got him out of there in the second round when I had him wrist wrapped and was ground and pounding him. That was close. I felt like if I could have kept his wrist for just a few more shots, the ref might have stepped in. That was very close, but he powered his arm out at the last second, But Kurt's a dog, man. He's also on the same card I'm fighting again,
Yeah.
and I got a lot of respect for that guy. I had a lot of respect for him going in. I've never fought anybody that like just felt so uh unfettered in there. He just didn't seem to give a fuck, bro. Like I was just like, this guy don't care. He's so gangster. When he walked in the cage, I looked at him like, this guy's not feeling this at all. So Kurt's the real deal, man. Hats off to him for surviving. But I do feel like I showed uh, how effective I can be.
Oh, no doubt. So I talked to Kurt after the fight, and this isn't verbatim, but he essentially told me that you are the strongest person that he has grappled or fought, like rolled with. He said when you're on top, he said the strength that he felt from you is something that he can't compare it to really from like guys your weight class. What is it like to hear that? And do you feel like your strength is as good as anybody's in this division?
Well, I mean, I'm a full size lightweight, so we'll see on July 20th because Loik Radzhabov is a very muscular and powerful looking individual. But I've I've melted tons of dudes with that body type in the gym before, So but you never know what someone's gonna feel like when you get on top of them. I feel like a lot of people in training also feel that I'm very strong. I don't think that I'm not strong. I do think that I'm physically strong, but I don't think I'm as strong as people think I am. It's positioning. Like I really do understand these positions really well. And I understand I have a very good like live feel for the position. Like I feel the position really well. And I think that I can position my body and position my pressure and understand when and how to cover multiple checkpoints at the same time. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can tension my body, my entire body in like six different places at the same time and understand exactly where those places are. And then as that's moving around and changing, and as you're adjusting and compensating, I'm just got the read on it. And if you do get away from me, I immediately understand how you did it. And the next time I circle you back, you'll go to do that. And typically I will have that compensation. That's just what a top level black belt should be like, you know? And I've grappled so much in my life so much more than I can even describe. Like I've been doing like 50 live rounds a week every week for like 15 years. And like I do not miss training. I train when I'm injured. I really have grappled well past my 10,000 hours. So I just think that it's just positioning and not only positioning because like grappling is tactile. It is a feel. Like you feel the positions, you feel the transition about to happen, you feel the movement they're gonna do. So like the better the grappler, the less you have to move for me to sense exactly. Like I just understand immediately what like off your 1/4 inch movement, what you're about to try to do. Striking, very different. Striking is visual. So all the cues you receive in striking is visual. And so like maybe like an elite level striker can, it's almost like they can sense that you're going to try to kick them before you even try to kick them. It's like it takes like the smallest movement and their eyes already immediately like boom, block,
Mm-hmm.
like I already know that's coming. Like it's almost like they read your mind. And it's like grappling is the same sense. You develop the same sensitivity, but it's a feel thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it just takes a ton of live rounds, man. And that's why I try to preach to my guys. Like you need to do not skip the live rounds. Like you gotta get the feel for grappling. It takes some time to really get that top level feel.
So having said that, what has this camp consisted of mostly to get you ready for Loik? Obviously, this guy's a striker. He's a brute. He comes in. He likes to throw heavy hands. Have you been focusing on maybe stand up more in this camp?
I'm always doing everything. I'm a student of the game. I spend a lot of time striking. I spend a lot of time wrestling. I spend a lot of time in jujitsu. I spend a lot of time putting them together. I spend a lot of time on the wall. Um, I spend a lot of time in the clinch. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I really feel like I've gotten to a place in my profession that I'm good at all of it. Like uh if you clinch with me, I'm gonna be good at it. If we're on the wall, I'm good at it. If we're on the ground, top to bottom, I'm gonna be good at it. Striking, I'm good at it. Wrestling, I'm good at it. Like a very complete game right now. So I've always understood that that's what you needed to do. So I've always been working on everything equally. I don't necessarily view myself as a grappler or a striker or anything. I'm just trying to take these guys out. So I've trained a very specific game plan for Loik based on how I think he's going to respond to my style. And so, like, I have a very particular style. I fight on a particular like tempo and rhythm. It is more unique than it appears to be once you're standing in front of me and trying to deal with it. And I kind of can project out to like he's either going to respond to this way or this way. And so, I mean, I could see three different ways that he tries to deal with it, and I've prepared specific strategies for those three ways. And I'm prepared to execute any of them. You know, but I think I match up pretty well with him. I think I'm going to match up better with him than people think I'm going to. And my goal is to just render him completely ineffective. I, I, when I look at this guy, he should not be able to hit me one time. That's how I feel about it.
Okay. I love it. That makes me even more excited to watch this fight. So when you look at what he's done, I mean, he's got a lot of tape on him to watch. He's lost in the PFL championship now twice. He's 2-1 in the UFC, I believe, and the loss was to Matu. So like, the guy's one of the best out there. Do you feel like Kurt is a more difficult matchup? Like if you look at guys you fought in the past, like how does Loic stack up to the guys that you fought? Is this more style friendly to your game?
Well, I have to wonder, like, if we take the guys that I've beat in the UFC, so Daniel Zellhuber, Nicholas Moda, and Kurt Holloway, what is Loic better at than any of those three?
I mean, you'd be able to tell me more than I can.
Well, I mean, I guess my thing on this is he is big and scary, but he is only big and scary. Like, you're not seeing clean boxing combinations from this guy. You're not seeing sophisticated setups. He's got some powerful wrestling, but it never leads to anything productive. Like even if he gets a takedown, he holds no one down. He does not ground and pound anyone to sleep. He does not submit anyone. He really doesn't have a real submission that he's shown in his arsenal. His stance sucks. His footwork sucks. His movement sucks. His cardio is not that great. I don't want to downplay him because I understand that when you fight a guy like this, you could wake up in the locker room asking questions. I know that he's very dangerous. I'm very on edge. I I feel this fight already. You know, I understand that he has a nuclear option, and that is his right hand. But like Nicholas Moda is a better boxer than him, and he hits just as hard. May as well hit just as hard. And his movement is better, and he's faster. Daniel Zaluber is just light years past Loik in striking ability and sophistication and setup and range and danger factor in the strike. Like Loik's got a right hand, but he only has the right hand, so it's like it's either an uppercut or an overhand. Like Zaluber's got everything, you know. Then you look at Kurt Holloway, who's a pretty good boxer. Like Kurt's pretty technically sound in the boxing, and he's got very good jujitsu. So once you take him down, now you got to deal with like a sophisticated submission arsenal. Um, Besides physicality, I don't see like a tremendous amount of skill from Loic. Like if you watch him throw kicks in fight, it's like actually funny to me. Like if he tries to kick me, I'll laugh at him. Like it's just bad. And so it's like he's just really powerful. And that is a problem, you know, like
Sure.
I gotta watch out. Like I think the room for error in this fight for me is zero. But the thing is he does get out of position a lot. He does make a lot of mistakes. He does get tired. When he's losing, he gets visibly frustrated. He does accept being mounted. Like in the UFC so far in 3 fights, I've seen him put in side control multiple times. I've seen him mounted multiple times. I've seen him dropped multiple times. He's been hurt in every fight, all 3 of his fights. He's been taken down in all 3 of his fights. I mean, you haven't seen me. I have given up 0 takedowns in the UFC in 5 fights. I've been rocked 0 times in 5 fights. I've been put almost in no bad positions. The 2 guys that beat me, I took the fights on short notice, and they won on leg kicks. Like that's it, you know. So when I look at the 2 matchups, like he's a scarier dude than me at first glance, but I don't think he's nearly on the level that I'm on.
So just listening to you to talk, Trey, I think my guess would be that you think you're going to submit him. Am I right? Like, do you have a prediction? Would you give me one?
Well, it all depends on how he responds to me, because I am fully capable of knocking people out. Like I do strike well. I've got some like I've got like 5 different things I can set up in striking that are at that level that could sleep him. But I do think that he's gonna walk himself into a takedown. And I do think I'll be able to submit him. Um I don't want to sound arrogant or overconfident because I'm definitely not. Like I understand that this is a tough task. This is gonna be one of my tougher, more physical fights, I think. But when I break it down technically and tactically, I think that he makes a lot of mistakes. And I think that whether that's in the striking or in the wrestling, I do think that I'll be able to capitalize on them. But I would predict a rear naked choke finish.
Where does a win put you? I mean, we've talked about Miles Johns getting close to the top 15. I mean, you've been in there with some really tough guys yourself. You go in there, you beat Loic. Like, where do you feel like that puts you for your next fight? And like, where do you hope to be come year's end?
Well, if I beat him, I'll have won 3 in a row. And every fight, if I win this one, every fight that I did not take on short notice, I will have won. Um, but I don't really know. My hope would be that it would put me in a new contract with a lot more money, you know, and we'll see. I don't really necessarily care who I fight. I just want to see the zeros on the paper keep growing.
Okay.
So you
Yeah.
know, like hopefully if I can go out there and finish Loic in impressive fashion, I think a lot of people are pretty high on this guy. I think a lot of people are going to think that he's going to bully me around and steamroll me. And you know, I'm not sure that I've gotten the fan credit or even the credit from the MMA community for the level that I think that I'm capable of being at. And so I think that this is the fight where I get like street cred. I think this is like the perfect opponent at the perfect time for me because of the visual of how he fights and stuff. And I think that I can go out there and beat this guy and make it look easy. And very few people have ever done that. And I think after you know, I had a very good fight against Nicholas Moda, but the whole narrative got turned into the referees stopping the fight early.
Yeah.
But if that would have happened, my stock would have just skyrocketed. But I knew it was going to happen too. I was like, as soon as the fight was over, I was like, the real tragedy of this thing isn't even the win purse that I didn't get. it's that the whole talk of this fight, like my performance is erased. Like everybody's just gonna talk about, yeah, he was dominating the fight, but like they didn't actually like remember the fight anymore. But if you watch the fight with Nicholas Moda, I think I showed that I had hit a new level, and then I go out and dominate Kurt Holloway, who's on a five fight finish streak. And if I can go out here and put Loik Radzhabov away right after that, then I think that I'll finally get the get the street cred that I deserve, and hopefully that comes with a much better contract and a little bit of marketing behind me, and that the UFC starts to get behind me a little bit more.
Well, you definitely deserve it, man. Let me ask you this: this is your third fight in a row at the Apex, if I'm not mistaken. Is that disappointing? Do you feel like you need to be back in big pay-per-view cards?
Well, I think I might even be on like the early prelims on this one, and Kurt's on like the main card. And I know the card can move around. I haven't looked at it in a couple of days, but that by itself disappoints me a touch more than being at the Apex. What frustrates me about the Apex is they should put the full size cage in the Apex, because I'm fighting every fight in a small cage, and I fight long with a lot of movement, and I feel like I could fight better in the big cage. Like I do think that it would benefit me to be in the bigger cage, and Apex or not Apex, I'd really appreciate that. But at the end of the day, like I said, like I'm a contract hitman right now, and I'm trying to master my craft. And if you send me a name with enough zeros, I don't really care. I'm just trying to take them out, cash the checks, go home, and rinse and repeat right now. So, um, I have two reasons to fight still, because my heart is almost full of fighting. Like I've fought forever, man. I have so many fights. I have a thriving gym and a thriving team, and I don't really necessarily need to fight anymore. For myself, I don't necessarily need to fight for my reputation anymore. I don't even really need the money. But one, I want to fight perfect. Like I want to feel like the highest frequency that I'm capable of fighting at. I want to, I want to, I want to, I want to embody that. I want to feel greatness flow through me for a moment in time, for 15 minutes or less. And because I don't believe that you just live greatness, I just think that it's just glimpses, right? But I want to fight perfect. I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't want to watch a fight back and be like, man, I should blah, blah, blah. Like I want to just experience fighting at a complete masterful level. So that is one reason why I'm still fighting. And the second reason would be like money that really makes a difference in my life, like really can like change my life for the years to come. So those are my two primary motivating factors right now. So as long as those are still lining up, then the rest is just details, man. Just give me a matchup, I'll break it down, figure out how to beat them, go in there and try.
I love it, man. Last thing for me, do you know how many fights you have left on your current UFC deal?
Three.
Okay, so you have three more. So this one and two more.
Correct. But like I said, with the right wins, you can just jump to the next four fight contract and change the money. And so at this point, I don't really think much about how many fights are left on my contract. I'm just thinking about how do I get to a different contract. So I'd like to have an impressive finish in this fight. I would like to really dominate Loik Radzhabov and put him away, and make a statement, as they say, so that I can make a case for a new contract like, because I'm fighting tough dudes either way at this point. So like, and I have a feeling I'm going to continue to fight tough dudes. So I would like to leave this fight with a new four fight contract.
All right. Well, hopefully Dana White and the UFC brass sees this. Trey, good talking to you again, man. I can't wait to watch you back in action again, July the 20th, UFC Vegas 94. Trey Ogden meets Loik Radzhabov. Again, good talking to you. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. If there's anything you want to plug, anyone you want to thank, floor is yours.
Yeah, man, Marathon MMA, you know where to find us. My Instagram is marathon_MMA. And then the gym page, if you want to follow the gym and everything all of our competitors are doing, it's marathon MMA _academy. And that's the best way to find us.